No one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD, and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
Erika Kirk has once again become the center of national attention, this time because of a wide-ranging interview she gave to the New York Times, an interview that seemed polished on the surface but carried a strange, unspoken tension underneath. Viewers immediately sensed that something was off. While she answered most questions with the calm confidence she is known for, there were several moments where her tone shifted, her gaze drifted upward, and her statements became confusing enough to ignite speculation across every corner of the internet.
Is he the person you plan to ultimately support for 2028?
He's a dear friend. My husband and him were very good friends. I think you remember when he supported him for Senate, and they had a great time.
The biggest question people asked was simple: what exactly is going on between Erika and J.D. Vance? Their friendship has never been a secret. She openly said that he was a dear friend and that her late husband had supported him enthusiastically. But the way she spoke about him this time, paired with the tone of the interview, made many wonder if there was a deeper story lingering beneath the surface. One of the most intense segments of the interview came when the New York Times pressed Erika about her stance on the Second Amendment. Considering that her husband, Charlie Kirk, lost his life to gun violence, many expected her to soften her views. But instead, she doubled down, saying she still supports the constitutional right to bear arms. She argued that the real issue is not the weapon itself, but the fractured mindset of individuals who believe harming others is an acceptable way to silence opposing views. According to her, that is not a gun problem, it is a human problem. This answer surprised a large portion of the audience, and while some praised her for maintaining her principles despite tragedy, others felt she was ignoring the role accessibility plays in violent incidents. But then, in a surprising twist, Erika acknowledged that if weapons were not so easily accessible, her husband might still be alive. That single admission shocked both her critics and her supporters because it sounded like a contradiction. A strong defense of the Second Amendment followed by a recognition that its current system of access may have contributed to her own loss. What truly deepened the confusion was the way she repeatedly used the word "they" while discussing threats, extremism, and social hostility. Many began asking who exactly they referred to. She did not specify any political group or ideology, and no mainstream figure had endorsed the tragic event involving her husband. She seemed to be hinting at some larger cultural force without naming it, and that vagueness made the public uneasy. Clips of that moment circulated widely, with commentators asking whether she was referring to online radicals, political enemies, cultural critics, or something else entirely. Another viral moment from the past resurfaced during the public conversation, the now famous hug between Erika and J.D. Vance. Cameras captured her embracing him warmly, and the internet immediately erupted with theories. Some people interpreted it as a raw and emotional moment between two individuals bound by grief and long-standing friendship. Others suggested it might have been a calculated media move meant to redirect sympathy, rebuild trust, or strengthen her connection with conservative audiences. Then came the line from Erika that really caused a stir: "No one will ever replace my husband." That pause set the online rumor mill spinning at full speed. Critics argued that the moment was too intimate for someone dealing with such a traumatic loss, while supporters insisted that grief appears in unpredictable ways. Her behavior during interviews has only fueled more speculation. People started noticing that she often looks upward at seemingly random moments, even when there are no crowds, no lights above her, and no distractions. Some people joked that she was looking for answers on the ceiling. Others found it unsettling, calling it spiritual, performative, or just downright strange. Social media filled with memes like "Girl, what are you looking at? Charlie isn't up there." This odd habit, whatever its origin, has become one of her accidental trademarks, sparking hundreds of theories. The interview also featured a handful of moments where her speech became jumbled, sentences blended together, and her meaning became difficult to decipher. One particular clip went viral for being nearly impossible to understand. Commentators labeled it word salad, and people replayed the audio repeatedly to figure out what she was trying to say. Even political analysts were confused. Some critics treated the moment as evidence that she was out of her depth, while her supporters argued that she was overwhelmed, emotional, or caught off guard by the questions. Despite these confusing moments, Erika continues to be invited to major platforms. Her presence sparks widespread engagement, whether admiration or mockery, and that alone makes her valuable in today's media environment. Many believe she is being groomed for a larger role, possibly in politics. After all, she has been asked repeatedly whether she would consider running for Senate or another public office, especially in a state like Texas. And although she has never said yes, she has also never said no. Instead, she gives cryptic answers like, "We should focus on the work my husband did and appreciate that we have a president we voted for." Responses like these might sound thoughtful, but they also leave the door wide open for interpretation. Meanwhile, her explanations about modern society have added another layer of complexity. She spoke about young men turning to aggression instead of healthy outlets for their frustration, calling it sad and frightening. She insisted that this was not a political issue but a human one, a sign of how society has lost its ability to teach emotional maturity. Yet, at the same time, she continued to mention the ease of access to weapons, weaving a narrative that many found contradictory, supporting the Second Amendment while acknowledging the dangers it creates. The result of all these conflicting messages is a digital storm of fascination, confusion, and debate. Every expression she makes, every phrase she utters, and every upward glance becomes part of a larger online puzzle. People want to know what she is thinking, what she truly believes, and whether she has a clear direction for the future for herself or for the political movement once shaped by her husband. For now, one thing is clear: Erika Kirk has become more than a grieving widow or a political spouse. She has become a symbol of mystery, controversy, public curiosity, and the strange way modern media turns every moment into a spectacle. And whether people admire her, question her, or simply do not understand her, they cannot stop watching. As the interview moved further, the tone began shifting in subtle but noticeable ways that caught the attention of viewers who were already reading between the lines. Erika Kirk, who normally appears confident and unbothered, started displaying a mixture of controlled poise and carefully measured hesitation, which only fueled more speculation about her real feelings and her true position within the political dynamics surrounding J.D. Vance. When the journalist redirected the conversation toward her personal interactions, her professional boundaries, and the evolving nature of her public relationships, she paused just long enough to create an air of intrigue. It seemed as though each answer was being filtered through multiple layers of thought, as if she wanted to say more, but had deliberately decided not to. People watching the interview later discussed how she looked like someone who was aware of what the public expected from her, but unwilling to offer them the dramatic angle they were searching for. Throughout this segment of the conversation, Erika consistently emphasized neutrality, even when the questions implied something deeper. She explained that her goal was to maintain sincerity, regardless of public expectation or political pressure. Yet her effort to appear neutral actually made some audiences think she was hiding an emotional undercurrent. Decisions that leaders and influencers make often carry consequences far beyond their personal lives, and Erika seemed fully aware of that weight. There were moments when she used humor to deflect challenging questions, and though the humor landed naturally, it also felt intentional, almost like a skilled tactic to avoid revealing her actual stance. This added to the enigma surrounding her and contributed to the perception that she might be holding back more than she let on. Another noteworthy part of the interview revolved around her explanation of the role of loyalty in modern political alliances. When asked whether she felt any obligation towards supporting J.D. Vance, she responded with a layered explanation that spoke about friendship, responsibility, and personal autonomy. She emphasized that loyalty does not mean blind agreement and that genuine respect requires room for disagreement. Many viewers admired this perspective, seeing it as mature and independent. Others interpreted it differently, arguing that her answer sounded carefully rehearsed, as if she had prepared for the possibility of being asked something sensitive. Her calmness, combined with occasional nervous hand gestures, created a contrast that was hard to ignore. The interviewer also brought up the public reactions circulating on social media, including speculation that the growing tension between Erika and J.D. Vance could represent a broader ideological split. Erika's response was firm. She stated that social media often magnifies misunderstandings, turning simple differences into dramatic narratives. She insisted that disagreements are normal and that people should not construct imaginary conflicts based on minimal evidence. But as she explained this, her voice softened slightly, and she leaned back in her chair, signaling that perhaps the constant scrutiny was beginning to wear on her. The pressure of public interpretation can often push individuals into corners they never intended to occupy, and Erika seemed conscious of the power that online conversations wield. In another portion of the interview, the journalist questioned her about leadership and influence in the digital age. Erika shared her view that influencers and public figures now carry a dual responsibility: to stay truthful to themselves and to remain aware of how their words ripple across global platforms. She talked about the fine line between expressing personal opinions and unintentionally shaping public narratives. Her statements demonstrated an understanding of the complexity of public influence, especially when millions of people are watching, analyzing, and reacting to every gesture and phrase. She pointed out that sometimes a simple comment can be misinterpreted and spread across various media outlets within only a few hours, turning private thoughts into public controversies. This, she explained, makes authenticity both more important and more difficult to maintain. There was also a reflective moment in which Erika discussed personal growth, describing how she has learned to navigate media storms over the past several years. She shared that emotional resilience requires patience, self-awareness, and the ability to remain grounded even when the world around you is filled with noise. She said that her approach now is to pause before responding to any dramatic claim or accusation, ensuring that her reaction comes from clarity rather than pressure. This comment earned praise from viewers who saw wisdom in her restraint. However, a different segment of the audience felt this was another example of her avoiding direct answers, especially as the topic of J.D. Vance's campaign reappeared throughout the interview. The journalist pressed again for clarity regarding whether she anticipates supporting him in future campaigns. This time, Erika responded with a more philosophical tone, stating that leadership is not about individual personalities, but about ideas, values, and long-term vision. She stressed that her support for any candidate would always depend on alignment with her principles rather than personal relationships. It was a thoughtful answer, but also a broad one, so broad that many viewers believed she had intentionally left the door open without committing either way. This ambiguity became one of the most discussed elements of the interview, with commentators debating whether her careful wording reflected political strategy or genuine uncertainty. As the interview neared its midpoint, Erika began speaking about the emotional toll of constant speculation. She acknowledged that being in the public eye means surrendering a certain degree of privacy, but she also emphasized that people often forget that public figures are human beings with real emotions, insecurities, and vulnerabilities. She shared that the harshness of online commentary can sometimes overshadow meaningful work and create unnecessary divisions. This portion of the interview felt sincere, resonating with audiences who empathize with the challenges of living under the spotlight. Her willingness to talk about the impact of digital pressure added a softer dimension to her otherwise composed and articulate presence. Still, some viewers were not convinced. They argued that by presenting herself as both strong and vulnerable, she managed to captivate viewers while still withholding the deeper truths they hoped she would reveal. This duality created an aura of mystery, one that fueled even more speculation about her relationship with J.D. Vance, her political leanings, and her future role in the upcoming election cycles. As the conversation moved forward, it became clear that Erika had mastered the art of speaking at length without revealing more than she intended, leaving the public intrigued and eager for answers she never fully provided. As the interview transitioned into its final segment, the atmosphere became noticeably heavier, as if both Erika Kirk and the interviewer understood that the last portion would determine how the entire conversation would be remembered. The journalist began exploring themes that reached beyond politics and public perception, focusing instead on Erika's long-term vision, her evolving identity, and her sense of purpose in a world where every action is scrutinized. Erika's composure remained intact, but there was a new seriousness in her tone, suggesting that she was preparing to address deeper questions that went beyond rumors, beyond alliances, and beyond the social media narratives that had followed her for months. She spoke deliberately, choosing each word with care, not to avoid transparency, but to ensure accuracy. Her demeanor reflected the maturity of someone who had spent years balancing authenticity with responsibility, someone who had learned that honesty and strategy can coexist without one undermining the other. The interviewer then shifted to a topic that has shaped many public figures, the pressure of online criticism. Erika acknowledged that the digital world often amplifies negativity, turning ordinary disagreements into major controversies. She pointed out that even harmless remarks can escalate into trending topics within a few hours, pushing individuals into defensive positions they never intended to take. She explained that at one point, early in her career, she used to feel compelled to respond to every negative comment, every accusation, and every fabricated narrative. But over time, she realized that engaging endlessly with misinformation only strengthens it. Now, she focuses her energy on projects and dialogues that matter. She described this shift as a necessary evolution, not just for public figures, but for anyone hoping to navigate a hyper-connected world with sanity and purpose. The journalist asked whether this constant scrutiny had changed her as a person. Erika paused, smiled faintly, and answered that change is inevitable when millions of eyes are evaluating your choices. She shared that personal growth often comes from learning how to be misunderstood without falling apart. She highlighted that strength is not the absence of vulnerability, but the ability to move forward despite misunderstandings. This perspective offered viewers a glimpse of a more introspective and philosophical side of her, something that had not been as visible in earlier interviews. She emphasized that being misread or misquoted is no longer something that threatens her confidence. Instead, she sees it as part of the job, part of the landscape, part of the unpredictable rhythm of public life. Naturally, the interviewer used this as an opportunity to circle back to the most controversial theme of the entire interview, her connection to J.D. Vance and the speculation surrounding their political alignment. Erika's expression didn't waver. She responded with a balanced explanation, stating that human relationships, whether personal, professional, or political, are far more complex than the internet makes them appear. She noted that people often crave simple stories because complexity requires patience, context, and a willingness to accept that not everything fits neatly into a headline. She reiterated that she respects J.D. Vance as an individual, but believes that political support must reflect values rather than social expectations. Her answer, once again, was thoughtful but non-committal. She neither confirmed nor denied the possibility of endorsing him in future elections. This ambiguity reignited the online debate, as expected, but Erika seemed comfortable with the consequences of choosing honesty over convenience. The conversation then moved toward her long-term ambitions. Erika explained that leadership in the modern world takes many forms. For some, it means running for office. For others, it means using media, communication, and storytelling to influence positive change. When asked whether she ever imagined herself entering formal politics, she laughed lightly before admitting that she has been approached several times in the past. However, she emphasized that entering politics requires not just ambition, but a long-term commitment to public service, a commitment she refuses to take lightly. She shared that she values integrity too much to step into a role she is not fully ready for. Her statement hinted at the possibility that she hasn't ruled out the idea entirely, but she made it clear that any such decision would come only after deep reflection and a genuine desire to serve rather than to react to public pressure. Another powerful moment emerged when Erika discussed the importance of truth in an age defined by sensationalism. She argued that truth has become harder to identify, not because facts are absent, but because interpretations multiply faster than people can evaluate them. She believes that society must learn the difference between authenticity and performance, between intention and perception. She expressed concern that people often trust narratives that feel dramatic rather than those rooted in nuance. Her analysis resonated strongly with audiences who are frustrated by the rise of outrage culture. She spoke passionately about the need to rebuild trust through consistent transparency, even if transparency sometimes leads to temporary discomfort or criticism. In one of the most introspective portions of the interview, Erika described what she considers her greatest challenge: remaining grounded. She admitted that the constant demand to present a polished version of herself can be exhausting. She shared that she relies on a close circle of friends and mentors who remind her of her core values and help her stay connected to reality. She mentioned that she tries to limit her exposure to online noise, focusing instead on meaningful conversations and constructive feedback. This honesty humanized her, presenting her not as a flawless public figure, but as someone navigating the same emotional complexities that many people face, only on a much larger stage. As the interview approached its conclusion, the journalist asked a final question: what does Erika want the public to understand about her? She responded with clarity, stating that she does not expect everyone to agree with her, but she hopes people recognize her sincerity. She emphasized that her goal is not to project perfection, but to remain truthful, even when truth is inconvenient or easily misinterpreted. She said that she values dialogue over division, listening over shouting, and integrity over popularity. She expressed that the world is full of enough noise and conflict, and she wants her voice, whenever she chooses to use it, to contribute to clarity rather than chaos. In her closing remarks, Erika addressed the broader cultural moment, explaining that society is standing at a crossroads where people must choose between polarization and empathy. She said she hopes that individuals will begin to question oversimplified narratives, dig deeper into context, and approach public conversations with curiosity rather than suspicion. Her final words reflected the tone of the entire interview: thoughtful, calm, and intentionally measured. She left viewers with a lingering sense of intrigue, not because she avoided transparency, but because she chose depth over spectacle.